What is going on, everyone? This is Drew Code Sports Talk, and I am your host, Andrew Wright, coming at you from Fresno, California. And coming at you from Clovis, California, is my co-host, Cody Johnson. Cody.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Thank you guys for joining us on this late night Drew Code episode. Sit back, guys. Enjoy. We've got a really fun episode. We're basically talking about just about everything. Before we get started, words are hard tonight. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't forget to follow us on all of our social media handles. They are linked down below. So without further ado, let's get started.
Take off from a break off from the weak minds. They can stay soft. You can change lives. You create thoughts. Never waste time. You got one shot. You got one life. Better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5. No mean boss. Just my life and free thoughts.
All right. Well, Cody, we are without guests today. It is just us. I feel like this is such a solo show, and it's not. It's it's just us two. But you are seeing this correctly, you zero people. You are seeing this correctly. It is just us two, and it is on a Friday. We are not recording on a Thursday, as I made our plans change. So I am sorry about that, Cody. Completely my bad. But you know what? I had to go support some family members, and I'm glad I did. But I'm glad to also I'm glad that I was able to do this. I was a little worried I wasn't going to be able to do it this week, and it would probably be close to possibly a month that I'm not going to be able to do this. So this may be my last week for the next 3 weeks. Maybe I get another shot. We'll see if everything unfolds. I know I'm Marco Polo'd you all of this, so I don't need to go into further detail. But getting close to vacation time for me and the family, so trying to plan for all that. So I'm excited about today, for real. I can't wait to get this show going. But before we get all this started, Cody, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, man. It is kind of sad that this could be the last show that we do for at least a couple of weeks, because you do have a well-earned vacation coming up. But I am glad to be doing it with you on a Friday night. I'm glad we were able to squeeze this in, and it's going to be a heck of a show. And super, super excited, because this is finally one where we continue our series and then put it on pause for a couple of weeks. But, things are going well. So how are you doing over there?
We're doing okay. Man, we have been going through school for the last, this is our third week now. Wow. My wife and I, we have recently gone back to school. Sorry, as you can see, I'm watching the Giants game right now. I'm trying to, so if you see me glance up here, I'm so sorry, but it's not been great so far, but I still need to see. Anyway, so we've been going through a lot of school stuff. Homework has been crazy. I've never done an strictly online class before. And so I didn't realize how much work went into it. It is a lot of work. So I am just trying to get it together. But you know what? I have no problem saying this on air. I actually, my daughter did I have an art class and I have a child development class. And the child development is a lot of work. The art, I can't get into. I'm not an art person. It's just not cool for me. It doesn't do anything for me. And so we had a project, and my daughter was like, "Hey, I'll color it and draw it for you." And I was like, "Okay." And my daughter's 8, mind you. If you guys don't know, Cody, obviously you know, but. So my daughter does this project, and I get the feedback from my teacher a couple of days later. She gives me 100% on it, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" So I was telling my daughter, I was like, "Nadia, she gave you 100%," and then she went on and said there was 2 specific things that my daughter actually had the idea for, and so it wasn't even my wife's idea, because everything was my wife and my daughter, and the 2 ideas that my daughter thought of, my teacher shouted it out. She was like, "This, I've never seen, the 12 years that I've teach, I've never seen anyone come up with an idea like that. That was such a great idea." I was like, Nadia, you could go to college for art. Like, it's fantastic. So
to be fair though, your daughter is kind of a prodigy. She's extremely smart for her age. So just to put that out there.
Yes, for sure. So I was so happy. I was like, now they're all stuck having to do my art projects, the coloring portions, because now I don't draw like that or color like that. So now they have to do it. So I was like, you guys kind of caught yourself here, but it's been good. I mean, I'm doing okay with my grades, so we'll take it there.
The fact that you're starting it up is just commendable in itself, because not a lot of people will do it. So give yourself a little bit of credit, because I've been telling you that, it's really tough. But I mean, if anybody can have the determination to do it, it's for sure you. So you'll get through it just fine. It's just a first semester, which, by the way, the summer semester is always the hardest because it's more work in a shorter amount of time.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, I was not ready for this.
I know it's cutting into our golf time too, so you better really pass this course, dude.
I know, but this week I've been on it, so possibly golf, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So, Cody, we have a lot of sports to talk about, and I just want to say, first of all, because we've already gotten a shout out now from them, from the Backseat Podcast. I appreciate them shouting us out. First of all, they've been texting us. We're actually the Giants are playing the Padres right now, so I've been texting them. We're enemies right now. Good luck to the Padres, because I figured we were going to lose the series anyway. I mean, I'm realistic about it, and so far I'm correct on that. So we'll see what happens, but Machado hit another home run today, as he hit one yesterday. So I texted him. I was like, oh my God, this guy is an MVP just from his showings against the Giants alone, not even just what he's been doing all season. But I wanted to shout them out. They've been a great help, been willing to text back and forth with us. So I appreciate that, guys. Also been a big supporter of us, and we've been supportive of them as well. So just wanted to shout them out because they shouted us out. I feel like that's only necessary. So thank you, guys. And thank you for joining our podcast, too. That was phenomenal. We loved having Ethan. One day, hopefully, we get both of them, or even just Clark. And that way we can have a couple of episodes like that. So I appreciate them being willing and able to do that. So thank you, guys. So, Cody, we have a lot to talk about. Today is our AFC South predictions. So, but there's a lot to talk about too. So let's just get into it right now. We're going to start with, we got MLB questions, we have NBA questions, and then we'll finish off with NFL. So, Cody, let's talk about MLB first. The Giants have been kind of on a losing curve here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're approaching All-Star break. So, and actually, technically, we are already in the halfway point of the season. Because we're 41-40 right now. And if we lose this game, if we are going to lose this game, so we're going to be 500 right now. So the question that you posted was, are the Giants going to make the playoffs? What do you think first?
Well, I know this is probably going to lead into the following question that we're going to follow up with, but I'm unfortunately going to be a Debbie Downer. I'm going to just say no. I don't think that the Giants are going to be able to continue the trend that they're doing now, where they're basically losing winnable series, to be honest. And then, going against division rivals. I think we only had one competitive series with the Diamondbacks recently, and we had a pretty good series with the Dodgers, but that was about a month ago. We've lost close games with the Cardinals. We've lost close games, I think, to the Royals. And, we haven't really had a really consistent, winning streak in a while. And I think up until a couple of nights ago, we actually were on a 7-game losing streak, which really, really is terrible. And we're in an ultra competitive division, and you just can't go on 7-game losing streaks and expect to be anywhere near. I mean, you've got the Padres, who are playing currently, that are arguably, 1A to Dodgers 1B, or vice versa. And you have the Diamondbacks, who they may not be as successful, but they're not also a team that you can take for granted. And that's not even including having the Rockies in the Division II, who are an up-and-coming team with some pieces as well. So, unfortunately, at the halfway point, I don't see the Giants making the playoffs. If they do, it's going to be maybe one of the last wild cards, but it's a super competitive NL, and there's just too many better teams playing better than the Giants right now. So I don't know if the Giants are getting into the playoffs, unfortunately, unless they make a lot of changes. And again, we'll talk about it in the next question, but I don't see them making the playoffs this season.
Well, since the beginning of this year, I had been, Cody, I've told you this. When I do my MLB power rankings, I do the top 5, but I actually do the top 10. So that way, if we hit any of the, like, hey, where's this team? Where's that team? Or where do you have that team at? I kind of was prepared. So they've always been in my top 10 until this past week. I was like, you can't play like that and just figure that, everything will be okay. Like, you have to go off of how they're playing, what's been happening lately. And the one thing that I've said since the start of the season, I was saying here, sitting here on this chair, telling everyone that this bullpen is not that good. This is going to be our Achilles heel. And it is 100% correct. But then I didn't expect that our starting rotation was going to be tanking. It's rare to have a starting pitcher on our rotation right now to go over 5 innings. It's Carlos Rodon and Logan Webb. Those are the only 2 guys that seem like they can do that. Everyone else, it seems like Alex Wood, the last 3-4 starts that he's had, I mean, we're lucky he gets out of the 3rd inning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really bad. Obviously, DeScalafani, he's been absolutely horrid, and he's back on the IL, which, honestly, I'd rather have him on the bump right now because we're struggling just to get a starting pitcher in the rotation right now. So there's a lot of things that are going on. A lot of people in what I've been hearing, like from the Giants announcers and all that, is, they're struggling to score runs. Well, it's kind of hard to get a little bit of momentum when your pitchers are constantly giving up runs. And honestly, if you watched last night, they were scoring runs. It wasn't that we weren't scoring runs. It's the fact that we can't keep a lead, or we can't keep it close. It's really bad. Logan Webb went 8 innings yesterday, and we ended up losing in the 10th. Like, if your pitcher is going 8 innings, you should be winning at least by 3 runs. Yeah. But so, I mean, I understand that some of the offense isn't moving, but I really don't think it's been the offense that has been the big issue, because we're not getting shut out in these games. Like, we're scoring some runs. Now, we're not driving in all the runs that we should, so I will say that. Right. But at the same time, we have to hold a lead. And these pitchers, I mean, Camilo Doval has been looking absolutely awful. Jake McGee has been suspected at best. He's already given up a run in this inning he just came into. Sammy Long, they were talking about how he closed the game against Arizona, and then he went out today and he wasn't doing anything. Gave up runs right away. Gave up a 3-run shot to Manny Machado. So there's no one is making plays other than Logan Webb and Carlos Rodon, and those 2 guys should be making those plays, but we need other guys to do that, and it's not working. So, it is unfortunate because we need a lot of help. Now, with this extended playoff, we have a chance still. I think with Bryce Harper going down, that can actually help us. I don't think Philadelphia is as good without Bryce Harper, so we do have a chance with that. But, St. Louis is still ahead of us. Right now it's San Diego and Atlanta who are the top 2 wildcard teams, and then it's Philadelphia, and St. Louis is a game, and we're 2.5 games. So we're still in it. We need this break bad, but the bad thing is right now is we don't have a break until the All-Star break. There's no days off for the Giants until we hit the All-Star break, and we need to get through this stretch at least 500 to kind of regroup, refocus, and start everything back up. So I think the Giants still have a chance, but if I'm looking at it and I'm being honest with myself, right now I would pick the Marlins over the Giants, just the way that the Giants have been playing. I mean, they're the last 10 games they're 2-8, which is not a recipe for success.
No. Well, then that kind of leads into the second question I was alluding to. So trade deadline, I believe, is August 2nd. So we're we're a little less than a month now before the deadline. Obviously we just talked about that. You think the Giants have an opportunity to make the playoffs. I don't think they do right now. But at the trade deadline, do you think the Giants are going to be buyers or sellers?
This is my question: is who are they going to sell? I mean, Rodon would probably be one, and that would be if he doesn't want to re-sign, which there's a possibility. But he's having a great year, and if he wants to win now, he could totally go wherever, opt out of his contract, and re-sign with the Giants if he really wanted to re-sign.
Right.
I hope they're buyers because I want them to contend, because I feel like this team is not that far off. I think if our rotation can get healthy, we can make it, but we're going to have to make some trades for the bullpen. And it's just, I don't know who's out there that we could get that would really save us. I mean, I've seen a few pictures from like Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago has a couple of relievers that I like. So there's a possibility that they could be buyers, but even if they're buyers and they go after bullpen, or let's say they were really buying and they bought Juan Soto, who I've been pushing for this whole time, I'm not sure that's still going to bring them over the edge. There's a lot that's going on with the Giants that they have issues. And yes, injuries are a part of baseball. And it's just unfortunate that the injuries that we're having is like the thinnest part of what we don't have, which is starting pitching right now. Our starting pitchers in the minor leagues are guys who, are not ready. They're going to get creamed, and it's just going to kill their focus. And then we traded away Tyler Beatty, which I kind of understood why we did at the time, because we really weren't using him how we should be using him. But we didn't have a need for him. Now he would be a perfect fit right now for us, because we need someone who can come in and start some games. But he gave up a lot of runs too. So there's a lot that's going on with the Giants. I kind of think they might be buyers, but I just don't know who they could get that would really change the trajectory that they have right now. I mean, they would have to get someone big, and someone big is already on a contending team, so you're not going to get that trade. So I'm kind of talking myself out of maybe they won't make it to the playoffs, and maybe they will, but they're not going to do anything with a playoff spot.
Yeah, some part of me wants them to become buyers. I've seen a report, I think it's somewhere on Twitter, that I think the pitcher's name is Trevor Mall from the Reds, might be on the market, and Giants could be targeting him, and that could be a good starting pitcher to target. Oh, excuse me. And so having him would bolster the rotation, and he's a younger pitcher than Cobb or Wood. I unfortunately think we're going to be sellers, though, if we aren't competitive come the playoff time, or come the deadline, I'd say. The only other assets I can think of that might be things that we would probably dump off is, again, Carlos Rendon, as you mentioned, maybe Tyler Rogers, because he hasn't really had the greatest of showings. So depending on what team might want to help in the bullpen or relief, maybe he moves on from there. The only other player I can think of is maybe someone in the batting lineup, maybe Flores, Estrada, who's having a pretty good season, maybe dump them off for maybe some prospects. But I don't know it depends on where the Giants are at, but I don't know who they're going to be able to trade for in the buying market to get them over the top, becoming a relevant playoff team. I think they should focus on pitching, because at least, if the Giants bats can put the ball into play and at least stretch, the starting pitcher and, battle at their at bats, they have a chance. But they don't really have the greatest defense this season. For some reason, it's really taken a step back. And I think starting pitching would help move around some pitchers in the bullpen to maybe bolster it during certain innings. But that would be the only thing that would help. But then we're not going to be able to score any runs because, again, our lineup right now, when it's cold, and there is nothing in there that sparks it even to get any sort of momentum. So that's another thing too, is what's more important if they're buying, starting pitching or elite hitting. So
yeah, I would definitely go pitching as well. So that one, I ran a little bit long on that, but I just, I haven't been able to talk about Giants baseball in a while. I mean, it's been up and down, an absolute, elevator of a season for the Giants right now. So, I mean, it looked like, hey, we're going to be contenders again. And now it's looking like we'll be lucky if we're in the race by trade deadline time. So we'll see what happens.
Hopefully we can finish above 500. I'd hate for us to be literally the number one team in ML last season and then, under 500 the following year. That would be the most catastrophic thing, and a confidence hitter, especially with a team that we think could make it over the hump with a couple of pieces. This is not the way to do it, though. So,
yeah. All right, Cody. So I'm going to give my top 5 power rankings in the MLB this week. It's pretty much the same teams that we've heard, slightly different order. So I will try and say it a little bit longer so you can. I know you're going to try and find the teams, but it is the same teams on there. I promise. So,
okay.
I of course have the Yankees at number 1. Listen. As much as I don't think it's still going to hold, Garrett Cole is pitching fantastically. I mean, he's got to be AL Cy Young favorite, or at least in the running top 3. Aaron Judge is right now, in my opinion, the AL MVP. As much as I would love to give it to Mike Trout, I think the batting average is way better with Judge, and he's hitting in the same spot than Mike Trout is, and Judge has the home runs. He's got RBIs. I mean, he's doing everything. So right now, Aaron Judge for me is the AL MVP, and then you have a potential AL Cy Young winner. So Yankees at number 1. I have the Dodgers at number 2. Listen, Kershaw. I mean, Walker Buehler's hurt, but he's still fantastic. Julio Urias, who the Giants just saw, he's been solid. Anderson, the young pitcher that they have, that guy's been phenomenal. I mean, my wife in fantasy baseball has him, and every time I look at him, he's got like 20 points for himself. So he's been fantastic. Obviously Mookie Betts. I mean, the list goes on. This is a phenomenal team. Then you have I have the Astros at 3. Now this is a team that moved up. I've had them 5 or 4 consistently. I moved them up. They have been winning pretty well, pretty handily, and they've been getting hurt. Pena was hurt earlier. Alvarez got hurt for a while. Kyle Tucker was hurt for a couple of days. Michael Brantley is on the 10-day IL right now. So they have a lot of injuries that have accumulated who are kind of their core guys, yet they're still winning. As much as I don't want to talk about it, Altuve's still having a really good year. Bregman has been struggling, but so far it's been okay for them. Gurriel, he's kind of not who he used to be, but he at least is a solid starter. So there's a lot of these guys that they have that is very, very very awesome. And these guys are, I mean, they just have talent everywhere. And it's so crazy how they've accumulated it. They were able to let go of Carlos Correa, and I feel like they're better without Correa now. Like, I feel like they're a more solid team. So good for the Astros. I have the Mets at number 4. They've been slowly trickling down a little bit, but I have watched them a little bit. Francisco Lindor is still Francisco Lindor. They have a lot of injuries. I mean, Bassick just came back from the COVID list, and he didn't look too great. But we'll see how he does further on. But Scherzer's still out. So I mean, and obviously DeGrom we haven't even seen yet this year. But they're still winning these games. They're still a competitive team. So I still have to have the Mets up there. Obviously, they're first place in the NL East. Then I have the Padres at number 5. I almost put the Padres over the Mets, but I do think that the I do believe that the Mets are still. I would still pick them over the Padres. Pods, they're just. I mean, they're hitting well, and their starting rotation has finally gotten healthy. Mike Clevinger's come back. Tony Snell, Blake Snell, has done really well, and he pitched really good today. So, good for the Padres. I mean, they're a fantastic team. I wish I didn't have to say that, especially with the Dodgers at number 2. But
Mm-hmm.
and the Padres, I almost put the Braves over them, but I still would pick the Padres right now. I think the Braves got in that winning streak that they had, and that's really helped them propel over the Padres technically in the standings.
Right.
But for me, I would pick the Padres team over the Braves right now. So that's my top 5.
All right. So a quick review of your top 5.
I have Yankees at 1, Dodgers at 2, Astros at 3, Mets at 4, and I have the Padres at 5.
All right, right on. Oh, and by the way, shout out to Brad. He's watching. He said, hell yeah, Mets over Padres. So
yes,
he
Brad
agrees with that.
Brad is definitely if he's not watching the Giants, he's watching the Mets or the White Sox. He loves watching both of those teams. So, yeah, so that's why he's like, he's been hearing me talk about Padres a lot because of backseat podcast. So
yeah.
All right. Well, Cody, let's go into some NBA questions, and there's been a lot. Surprisingly, I didn't think there was going to be as much as there was, but there was a lot of movement. Like day 1, day 2 wasn't a ton. It was more like talking about where's KD going to go, where's Kyrie going to go, all that stuff. But to you, what was the best free agent move, signing or trade, that you were most surprised with?
Oh, I'm actually not upset about what the Lakers have done so far. They've got a couple of role players. I know that their free agency, their free agency targets have been a little bit more selective because they don't have a whole lot of cap space. But I have to be honest, if there's one that kind of sticks out from me, it's the trade with the Hawks getting I think his name is Murray, getting him pairing with Trae Young. I think that'll be a huge one.
DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte. Oh my gosh. So sorry. Words are hard. Anyways, yes, getting him is I thought was an outstanding pickup on the Hawks. He showed really great leadership on the Spurs, who you can tell they're just now playing for the lottery, and they're basically starting over from scratch. And, I think him pairing with Trae Young is going to be great. I'm curious to see now what the Hawks do more to fill out their roster. Questions are, they got to keep John Collins, who I think is on his last year of his rookie deal, and he's been in trade rumors for a long time. If they do re-sign him, he's a great asset. But just to see what happens to help elevate the Hawks team, because when they got into the playoffs, of course, they got swept by the Sixers. Clearly, they just didn't have enough firepower. So I think this does help. Does it put them over the edge? No, but I think this does make them somewhere between like a top 5, top 4 Eastern Conference team, especially now. I think the NBA is now shifted to rather not having two big men anymore. It was kind of like having a guard and a big man that pair well together. Now I feel like it's going to like your backcourt is most important, having a 1 and a 2 guard. Some of the more successful teams that have that, Golden State with Clay and Steph. I would even say Houston Rockets when they had James Harden and Chris Paul. Right now with the Suns, Chris Paul and Devin Booker. It's not necessarily a big man and a guard anymore. It's now 2 guards, a reliable point guard and a 2 guard that are interswitchable. Seems like that combination is working well, and I think the Hawks have a pretty good young backcourt that's gotta lead them through some really tough games, and I think it's going to show some growth for them.
I'll do kind of a twofer. I'm going to go real quick on the first one. That's why I'm doing twofer. And you can't stop me, Cody. So whatever.
Okay.
No, I was kind of surprised that the Pelicans signed Zion Williamson to a max contract. I mean, I know that could be a hot take, just me saying that I'm surprised, but I mean, to be perfectly honest, like, it's kind of surprising that an organization went through what they went through with Zion Williamson, where, I mean, I don't want to body shame anyone because I don't have the best body, of course, but, a guy who is getting paid millions of dollars and plays a game, this basketball game, for those millions of dollars, to come in out of shape, was kind of very shocking. And then this injury where it was like, and his guys are saying, oh well, it was the team, they were being more cautious, blah 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 blah. And it was like, yeah, I think it was, but I think the weight was kind of a problem too. They were like, we don't want him to re-injure something because he gained all this weight. And so that was a little concerning. Now I understand that he's a young guy, he has to kind of figure things out for himself. Of course, I understand that. But that's why I was very surprised that they got that max deal. So I understand it from basketball perspective because he is a phenomenal talent. I would have taken him. I would have been okay if the Lakers signed him to a max contract if they had that ability to.
Yeah.
But I was a little surprised about how quick the Pelicans were to just, let's re-sign him right now. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And it was max. I thought that was kind of surprising to me. So, but hey, they know better. I mean, obviously he took a year off, so maybe they think he's ready to go. Maybe this was their plan all along. So good for them.
Yeah, I guess so just to really piggyback off of that real quick, I guess I'm more surprised because, again, I don't know how I feel about signing to a max contract, and I think how well the Pelicans played with just, Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. I probably would have maybe taken in some trade calls for Zion Williamson to see what you can get back, just because, yes, he's a generational athlete, but he has an injury history, and he is a bigger guy. Like you mentioned, he did have a weight problem when he came into camp. Now, has he worked a majority of that off? Probably, but there was also a time where like he just kind of wasn't following his team's training staffs or their regimen. He's kind of doing his own thing, and that could be bad too, alienating the team that is trying to look out for your best interests, and you're not buying that. And if I'm the Pelicans and I'm taking that into consideration, I guess this is a hot take to carry on with yours. I probably would have looked at maybe trying to field in some more assets from him, or if I feel comfortable riding with, like I mentioned, Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, maybe what can I dangle Zion out there to get back to get us into a closer win now window? Like, what other teams would have done business to get Zion? Like,
to just see what you could get back, at least to just float the idea out there. I agree with you. But the one I was really surprised with was, I don't understand what the Timberwolves are doing, because they go ahead and trade for Rudy Gobert, who I'm not saying is a bad player. I think he's good. I mean, he's a good center. He's a rim protector for sure. The Giants just lost. And they hit a 2-run home run with 2 outs in the 9th. So they gave me hope. I hate that. Anyway, so he's a good rim protector. He's a guy that is going to give you his all on defense. His offense, on the other hand, is a little weird. Now, I actually do think it can fit with the Timberwolves, because you already have enough hands that can score baskets. You have Anthony Edwards, you have Karl Anthony Towns, and you have a D'Angelo Russell at times as well. So with those 3 guys, you have enough scoring. So now Rudy Gobert is really not going to have 10 points. I mean, he's going to have probably 6-8 points average, would be my guess. No, he'll probably have more than that. But in all honesty, now all he has to do is focus on defense. And I think that does benefit him. But at the same time, I'm a little worried of how this is going to work with Cat and Rudy Gobert specifically, because that's really 2 big guys that you're going to be starting. Right. I mean, maybe they're gonna have Rudy Gobert come off the bench, but I doubt it, because they're paying him some good money. I mean, it's not like Rudy Gobert was super cheap.
Right.
So, it's going to be interesting. You're going to start these guys with each other. You have Anthony Edwards, like I said. You have D'Angelo Russell. No more Pat Beverly, unfortunately. That's going to be sad. But anyway, they should have re-signed him if they're going to have Rudy Gobert. Like, just have Beverly there too. Now you got two defenders who are really going to focus on defense. Everyone else can focus on offense. I mean, hey, that might work. But to be in all honesty, I was very surprised that they went and traded for him. I don't know. It just seemed weird to me. I don't understand it. And I don't think this helps them to win all that much. They might win a couple of more games, possibly, but I don't think it makes them better in the postseason. I think it actually could possibly make them worse because now teams are going to be like, okay, stop Edwards, stop Cat, and make Gobert score or D'Angelo Russell. And we've seen Russell enough to know that he's not gonna be able to take over games. He may take over one game. And then you're going to have to kind of be a little honest on him. But with Gobert, he's been in the playoffs time and time again, and he completely falls apart. So to me, this doesn't help them. This just makes them slightly better. And I don't think that's a recipe for success. So just goes to show you what the Timberwolves, how their organization runs.
Yeah, I mean, essentially they go from a play-in team to maybe the 7th seed, in my opinion. And I'm not surprised that they traded for Gobert. I think I'm surprised by how much they gave up to get Gobert. Like 5 first-round pick, a handful of players for Rudy Gobert. No, don't get me wrong. Is he the Shaq stopper we all are hoping for? No. Is he an excellent defender? Yes, he's former, defensive player of the year. But, to your credit and to your point, this actually shrinks the floor for the Timberwolves, excuse me. And they are known for a running team, and Rudy Gobert is not a runner per se. He is a guy that is going to be stationary, and I don't know how the Timberwolves are going to make a half-court offense work, especially with Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, Cat. I can maybe see Cat maybe being in the corner 3, but with having his specialty, I wouldn't have him standing outside the three-point line. I would want him in the interior. But if you also put Rudy Gobert there, offenses are just going to double Rudy, and if Rudy gets in trouble, he's not going to find the open guy, and I don't know how well that offense is going to work. But, ultimately, we will see. Again, I'm just surprised by how much they gave up. They essentially gave up the next 4 draft picks in the first round and the following years to come. So they really mortgaged their future on Rudy Gobert. So they better win the championship in the next, 2 to 3 years before it's all said and done.
I just think that they looked at the Celtics and were like, oh, all we need is a shot blocker. And it's like, okay, yeah, that helps. But look at the team that won, which is the Warriors, where they literally have no center. Draymond Green was their center. He's 6'7", maybe. I think I've heard sometimes he looks more like a 6'6". Whatever. I mean, he's not a traditional center. Where has the NBA been going the last few years? It's been going small ball. So you just went taller, which that's going to help inside, but I mean everyone knows how to shoot now. So and Rudy Gobert, to be as good of a defender that he is, he's not that good of a perimeter defender. He's more of an interior defender, and I think you're going to see a lot of issues with that, and I think Timberwolves are going to regret that trade. To be perfectly honest, I think they're going to be like, we made a big trade and it really didn't work out. I mean, I agree with you. I think they're going from a play-in team to a maybe a 7 seed. I agree with that, but what are they going to do with that 7 seed? Probably, I mean, they would have faced the Warriors.
Yeah,
I don't see them beating
Probably
the Warriors
again.
one game.
No, or especially when the Nuggets get healthy, they're not beating the Nuggets. So
yeah. All right, Cody. Well, there's another story out there in the NBA world that Brian Windhorst actually said. I don't remember if it was on First Take today. I can't remember what show he was on, but he did say today that Kyrie Irving, the trade to the Lakers, is going to happen eventually. We just don't know when. And it seems like Russell Westbrook is going to be in the trade. That's what he said. So I'm just going to say, there's still a possibility that he could go on there, but we've heard all this before where it's like, oh, it's a done deal, and then it never happens. So I'm not going to say it's going to happen yet, but will Kyrie go to the Lakers this offseason, in your opinion?
Man, I think that depends because, obviously from what Brian Windhorst says, and I'm essentially just repeating what he heard, is, the market for Kyrie is very limited. Although the more time that he's with the Nets, it gives other teams more opportunities to think about if they're willing to part with some assets to acquire Kyrie. Now, I think reports are true that Kyrie has basically made it known that he would rather be on the Lakers than any other team, one way or the other. I can't imagine any team crazy enough to rent out Kyrie for one season for him just to leave to go to LA. But this isn't the first time that we've heard rumors of, I want to go to LA no matter what. I mean, I can remember Kawhi Leonard stating, or Paul George wanting to go to the Lakers. They end up going to different teams, and we're like, oh, we'll just wait. We'll get them for free. And where did they go? They went to the Clippers.
This is why I have trust issues.
Yes, exactly. So not saying that Kyrie is going to choose the Clippers because, again, Clippers have a monument of talent already with signing John Wall and having Reggie Jackson, I think, still on the team. So it's not like they're going to really need Kyrie. I think Kyrie's interested in playing with LeBron again, and I think the same for LeBron. But, I don't want to say as a Laker fan it's a done deal because there's been too many trades that we've said, oh, it's in the bag. We've got it. They want to come to the Lakers, and then they don't come to the Lakers. I think the only player in the most recent memory that has reported wanting to come to the Lakers, we traded and made it happen, was with Anthony Davis. And unfortunately, we are actually still paying for Anthony Davis. We had no future draft picks to really use as ammunition to trade. We did get 80. It came with a championship, but in that same token, though, he's missed several games. So, it's also to a detriment. And to that detriment, whatever little assets that we had to trade for AD, we also used to trade a Russell Westbrook. And now we're in the situation we are in now. So, I hope it comes through this offseason. I want to say, yes, it will happen. But, as been a Laker fan my entire life, I've seen too many times reports of Lakers like, oh, this player desires to go to the Lakers. Lakers don't be as aggressive because they think they have it in the bag. And then the player goes somewhere else because it gave other teams an opportunity to sell them on the opportunity to play with them. And again, my example of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard is exactly what I'm talking about. So I really do hope the Lakers do take some urgency and make it happen sooner rather than later.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm wearing my Lakers jersey. It's the LeBron James jersey. Okay, so, I'm holding it up because I'm proud to be a Lakers fan today because I know what's going to happen, Cody. And you can call this clout, you can call this hot take, whatever you want to call it. But I think the Brian Windhorst thing. There was a story earlier that said KD and Kyrie are not done playing with each other. They just don't want it to be in Brooklyn. They're coming to the Lakers, Cody. I've been on this for a long time. I don't know why you don't just embrace it. Maybe it's because of the Kawhi and Paul George deal. But I got to tell you this, Cody. We're trading away Anthony Davis. We're trading away Russell Westbrook. We're getting rid of THT. We're getting rid of our top draft pick, whatever, in 2027 or something. I don't know when it is. I don't care. We're getting rid of all of it because we're going to get KD and we're going to get Kyrie. If you put KD, Kyrie, and LeBron on a team, that's all you need. You don't need a bench. You don't need two other starters. Nah, you can miss me with that. We're going to put those three guys out there and we're going to beat the living daylights out of every other team. I really do believe this. I know I'm going like way overboard, but I'm serious. I really think that the story that Brian Windhorst said that Kyrie and Russell Westbrook, it's a done deal. We just don't know all the ins and outs. There was a story before this Kyrie story that came out that said KD, there's not a lot of people trying to go after KD. And the reason being is you have your Celtics. They don't want to get rid of Jason Tatum. You're going to give the Nets Jaylen Brown. Yes, he's a good player, but is he KD caliber? Now, you could add a couple of draft picks, but the Nets kind of want a star player in return. So you have that. You talk about the Warriors. I don't think they're going to touch KD again. Who are they going to give up that they can give up right now? They can't. There's a lot of teams that have these superstar players that they don't want to give up. If you're the Timberwolves, are you really going to be okay getting rid of Anthony Edwards for Kevin Durant? I don't think so, because to be honest, Anthony Edwards looks like a fantastic player. I'm not saying he's at the level of KD, but he at least is going to be a Timberwolf for a while versus a KD who could be only a year or two. So there's not a lot of teams that want to trade away their best player who is young and who's going to be there for a while, like a Zion Williamson. You're not going to trade Zion now. You just signed him to a huge contract. You're not going to take KD over Zion right now, because we've seen what Zion can do when he is playing. He's spectacular. So, and then you add KD instead of Zion, you're kind of destroying the chemistry of that team. The Lakers, they have no chemistry because the chemistry is sitting on the bench, always hurt, with Anthony Davis and LeBron James lately. So now you add KD, you add Kyrie. Kyrie doesn't even have to play half the time. LeBron doesn't even have to play half the time. KD doesn't have to play half the time. All they have to do is come together. They're going to work together because, first of all, LeBron and Kyrie, they've played together. They know how each other works. Now Kyrie can be the middleman between the two, where he can say, hey, KD, this is what LeBron likes to do. And KD knows already, as I've said multiple times, LeBron's passive now. I mean, he's always been passive, but he's going to be extra passive. He's going to want to give the reins to KD, and that's what KD wants. He wants the reins of the team. And with Brooklyn, it was kind of like, maybe they should kind of let Kyrie do things. Now, you don't even have to – that's not even in the question. You don't even have a question of, is Kyrie going to have the – no, he's not going to have the ball. He's going to have the ball a few times, but he's going to be like, okay, obviously LeBron and then KD, and then I'm going to have it. So I'll start doing the spot up shooting a lot. And he's more than capable of doing that. So I'm being honest here. I really do think you're going to see KD, Laker, Kyrie, Laker. I think you're seeing it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, dude. I'd love to see that, but in what world is some NBA GM going to give the Lakers not only Kyrie with LeBron and KD at the same time? I just don't see it happening. Don't get me wrong. I want that to happen very badly. I don't see it happening. I think that is a death sentence, so to speak, for the league, because, that would be, I think, a more of egregious than when LeBron, Bosh and D Wade teamed up. I think that'd be more egregious than when KD signed with the Warriors. I mean, I want it to happen. I just don't think that's going to happen. There's too many factors that come to it with salary, and it's not even the best package that they could get for both players in terms of what the Lakers are going to give the Nets. It's not even the best package. And I just don't know if the Nets are going to be like, yeah, sure, here, we're going to hand you over your championship team, and we're going to take your leftover players that you didn't develop well and your draft picks for 4 years in the future that aren't going to matter diddly squat to us in the next 2 to 3 years, when really they can potentially get a bunch of draft picks that will make that happen from other teams. But again, as a Lakers fan, I 100% want it to happen. Just don't know if it will.
I think I don't mean to make this sound bad, so I don't want you to take it the wrong way, but I don't think anyone cares now with the super teams. Like, I think to a certain extent, yeah, people are like, oh my God, now we're giving the Lakers this. But I really don't think people care that much about the super teams. I mean, we've seen it so many times now. It's just like, okay, it happens. Whatever. We'll see what happens. But also, if you're the Nets, this actually is a smart move, because first of all, you get rid of toxic Kyrie, and let's not sugarcoat it. Kyrie is absolutely toxic. The only team he could go to right now is the Lakers, just because of LeBron. The other thing is, KD, he's not all that young himself. So yes, you are giving them KD, and you could potentially give them a championship this year, but there is a potential that in 3 years, you don't see that again.
Mhm.
You're not going to see the Lakers. You might see the Lakers completely crumble because they've traded all these assets and stuff. And I think the Lakers would be okay with that right now because we need to win now, especially with LeBron. And I think that's the smarter move than to be like, well, we need to worry about the future. Like, yes, you do, but to a certain extent because of the players that you have. You have a player of a caliber in LeBron James, and you're going to squander that by not going after the best players. You went after Anthony Davis. Yeah, that was great. But now you're seeing that he's having these injuries. If you're the Nets, you can have Anthony Davis. If he has a healthy year, he's still one of the best players in the league. And if he is hurt, you could potentially still trade him for more assets. The Nets are going to lose Kyrie and Kevin Durant. They're not going to be in a win now mode. I think that they want to, and that's why they want a superstar. But if you get a superstar that you could potentially either resurrect or at least get something in return for that superstar, I think you could go after an Anthony Davis, and you could end up. I mean, you could go after probably a Jaylen Brown too if you really wanted to. They have enough draft picks. They could trade the Celtics for a few draft picks or give them draft picks and get Jaylen Brown. Now you pair Jaylen Brown and Anthony Davis on the Brooklyn Nets, and Brown could easily take over the team. That's what he's been wanting to do in Boston, but Jason Tatum's there. And so I think Boston likes Tatum. That's why I'm saying that. So for me, I think it actually there's a lot more moves that you could do if you get rid of Kyrie and KD versus if you keep them. You're going to have this toxic relationship where, hey, does KD really want to play? There's going to be games where KD has like a bad night, and you're going to be like, is it because he just doesn't want to be here? And then the whole Kyrie thing, you're going to be like, is it mental health? Is it he just doesn't care? Is he just this bad now? I don't know, but I really think the Nets would be smart to move off of them. And I think if you got Anthony Davis, he's still a young player, and he's still a guy who everyone knows if he's healthy, he's fantastic. Now, yes, the biggest question is if he's healthy. But that's why if you're trading away KD and Kyrie, you're not going to be a win now team this year. There's going to be no way. And even if you don't trade away KD or Kyrie, I think you're still kind of in a we're not going to win this year because you understand, are they really going to give it their best? I'm not sure. They could pull a James Harden and Ben Simmons and be like, nope, I'm done. And you're just like, well, we're screwed now. And if they do that, you actually lose trade value because you're like, well, maybe they're just deteriorating as a player.
I get you, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want it to happen. I think that there's a lot of hurdles to get past to make that come to fruition, but we'll see, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to be in your crazy camp, but I'm also in reality. So I'm just being realistic.
Okay, man. Yes. When they get KD and Kyrie, I will be here saying, I told you so. You don't get to talk for the rest of the episode. Not like it's any different from any other episode. But now I will take over. So I will be very annoying if this happens. It will happen. So you're going to have to be prepared.
I hope
for
so.
it.
I really want it to happen. I really want to say you're right on this one for sure.
All right. Cody, let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about some NFL.
Let's do it.
All right, Cody. So I'm gonna change this up. Well, we didn't talk about this beforehand. We're doing this on the spot. We have AFC South predictions that we need to get to. So I'm gonna do these two questions for you and only you, because you kind of know how I feel. Everyone who's watched this show or listened to the show knows how I feel about Baker Mayfield. So I don't think we need to talk about that. I know you did a little bit of research on the new Raiders hire that we're going to talk about. So I'll let you. I don't really know much, So I'm going to let you kind of handle this, and then we'll go into our AFC South predictions. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I'll try. Let's do it.
All right. So, Cody, Baker Mayfield goes to the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like a 5th round conditional pick.
Yeah.
So, the Browns, Lord knows what they're doing. But anyway, they're finally done with Baker Mayfield. He goes to the Panthers. No one cares. What are your thoughts on this for the Carolina Panthers?
I think for the Carolina Panthers, this is an interesting move. I know that your guy Colin likes this move a little bit for Baker, just because essentially when Tom Brady retires, in Colin's, what he believes is the Baker will potentially be the best quarterback in this division. And hard to argue. I mean, you have, Mariota, Winston, and you have, obviously you have Baker, and then whoever the backup would be or the replacement would be for
Kyle Trask or Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, one of those guys. But, I think this is a good restart for Baker. I would say that the Panthers are probably better suited for a player like Baker, just because, something was going on organizationally with the Browns, and maybe it was Baker, maybe it was Stefanski, maybe it was, they did go through a GM in the middle of, Baker's tenure there. So I don't know maybe if leadership really changed on that or not, but I really like this for the Panthers just because I'm not as huge fan of Sam Darnold. I don't believe in him. I know that, he's a USC quarterback. This is kind of like a laundry list of USC quarterbacks that just don't pan out in the NFL. The only one that really did was Carson Palmer. Now that's it. Like, Matt Sanchez had very minimal success with the Jets. Matt Leinart didn't even have success. So on and so forth. And, unfortunately, Sam Darnold is victim to that. And, I don't know if it's because of the Jets that messed him up. I don't know if it's him himself, but I think this is a good fit for Baker. I would argue he's got a better cast of weapons with, DJ Moore, CMC. Obviously, he's got Robbie Anderson. Don't know if he's going to retire or not, but I doubt it. They still have a pretty young tight end in Ian. I think it's Ian Thomas is the tight end's name. And their defense is up and coming. Like, the Panthers have a pretty respectable defense. Is it as good as the Browns? 100% not, but it's competitive. And the NFC is not as competitive as the AFC. I think the Panthers may have just gotten themselves maybe 2 extra wins. I don't think that makes them a playoff or a wild card team by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think it gives Baker an opportunity to at least be a serviceable quarterback. And I think Matt Rule's system will fit better with Baker than Stefanski's offense with Baker, because Stefanski's offense is more of a watered down version of a West Coast run kind of heavy option. And Carolina's is more of a play action, little bit of bootleg here and there, but they're going to spread the ball around a little bit. Whereas Stefanski's offense was very, very, very simple and very kind of old school, but run first kind of esque. So I think for this, Baker will see a little bit of success, and I'm curious to see how he recovered from his injury and go from there. But, obviously this doesn't bode well for Sam Darnold. I mean, he'll be lucky to make the practice squad, in my opinion, unless some team just invests their time and energy into fixing him. But I don't know if that's possible, just because of how far he's fallen and, the amount of hype behind him and, potential that he was supposed to have and he didn't show.
Now, I will say Bucky Brooks came on Colin Cowherd's show earlier this week, and he actually brought up a good point that Sam Darnold, don't count him out. There's a possibility that he could still end up being the starter week 1, because not only did they get a new offensive coordinator, and Darnold has been there since the beginning. He's been working out with him like every single day. He's been studying the playbook. He's been working at it. So there's a and Mayfield is coming in very late. And he brought up the point of when Cam Newton came in to New England and they didn't start him right away. And the real reason was because he was trying to get to the offense as much as he could, but he really couldn't grasp all of it until a couple of weeks later. And, that's why they had their struggles and whatnot. So I think that's a valid point. I think you have to really look at, who's been spending more time there, who's been in Matt Rule's system for at least a year? Sam Darnold. So there is a possibility that we could see Baker Mayfield later in the year, maybe like week 4, 5, maybe 6 at the latest. But I do still think there is a possibility that Sam Darnold could end up being the starter week 1. We'll see. I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, the better quarterback of the two is Mayfield, but who has the better, who has the better arm? Who's a bigger guy? Who's a guy who can actually see over their offensive lineman? That would be Sam Darnold. So there is a possibility he could be that. So I will just say that. So Cody, the Raiders are the first team to hire their first black female president in the NFL, in NFL history. Her name is Sandra Douglas Morgan, and she is a boss. All right.
Yep.
So, Cody, why don't you give us your thoughts on the hiring of the new president for the Raiders?
So I think this is obviously a huge, barrier breaking moment for the Raiders. They're kind of notorious for doing this throughout their history, and I'm glad it's continuing. So just a little background on Sandra Douglas Morgan, is previous position, I guess, is what she's known for, is the chairwoman for the Nevada Gaming Center. She did that for a few years, and then she's a litigation attorney for MGM Grand, and then also a city attorney for Las Vegas for a number of years. So she's got a lot of experience in how to handle people, law, of course. And I think this is huge just because this is such a pivotal moment in our, in our country, and especially in like women's rights, especially with what's going on now. It's pretty polarizing. And I think this is a huge barrier because not only is it a female, but it's a minority. And it's in a really high executive position within a professional NFL, organization, which I don't know if much people would have figured that ever happened. I mean, I think just last season or 2 seasons ago, the NFL was just introducing a few female coaches to team coaching staffs. And, I think last season we just were introduced to our first female full-time referee. I know the NBA has already had some female coaches in there and referees and executives and stuff. So this is really cool that the Raiders are, breaking barriers, really moving forward and progressing. I really hope this starts a trend with other teams. And, I'm very excited for the Raiders' future and the fact that they've been making some really smart decisions the last, I would say this year, especially starting with hiring Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, who came from a Patriots organization. I would also say, the fact that they are hiring, Sandra as a, president of the NFL team. I think this is huge, and I think it's a step in the right direction for history. I, hope it all works out. I don't want to say she's going to be terrible because the last president that was in that position was there for 16 years for the Raiders. So I'm hoping for longevity, and obviously this is a great moment again for history, and proud to be a Raider fan to be able to witness it. And I'm very, very, very proud of the Raiders for doing so.
Yes, I'm very proud, and this is a good move for Mark Davis, especially with what's been going on. There's been some people who are saying, maybe it's because of what's been going on that they just are kind of making this move to kind of lighten things up, or trying to take the tension off of things, because there are still kind of investigations going on. So, and obviously with the whole Washington Commanders thing with Dan Snyder, Mark Davis has kind of been linked to that a little bit. So there's been a lot of talk, and so a lot of people are saying, but listen, either way, this is still a great move for the Raiders. This is a great move for the NFL. This lady is someone who has worked obviously very hard, because if you're a woman of color and you're a woman, to come up into a position like this is not an easy task. I know people think that, companies just hire people because of race, that they have to have that, they have to have someone of color in their organization. But the reality is those people have to work extra hard. Like
Right.
people of color, they have to do so much more than what is asked of like myself. It's insane. Like
Right.
I can't tell you how many stories I've seen. So I know that this lady is not only someone who I know is going to get the job done and done right, but also I really feel like this is one of those people that I can actually say with confidence we're not going to have any issues with her, because there's not going to be any scandalous, like, emails to another team about a way a woman looks or whatever. We're not going to have any of these you know reports of someone showing their genitals on to another employee. We're not going to see any of that,
Right.
because it, from what I've seen, women in power, they actually take it seriously, versus some men in power who are like, yeah, this is kind of nice, but it gives me a lot of everything else. So
Right.
I think this is a great hire. I know, sorry, that's a little risque to say, but I mean, I got to be honest, man. This is kind of the truth. This is how I feel. Like I'd rather right now, I'd rather have so many more women in power
Right.
than men, because it's just women seem to take it way more seriously, and they seem to get more things done. Just to me, I mean, I know with the dynamic between my wife and I. My wife does way more than I do. She helps me with my homework, and she's still going to work. I'm usually just home with the kids, trying to like focus on keeping the kids alive. And then my wife comes home, and she's been, all over Fresno, and she's tired. And then I'm like, I don't know what, Picasso is drawing here. He's got two eyes on the same side of the face. I don't know what that is. And she's like, oh, I'll do that. Here, let me type it up. She types up a whole freaking essay on Picasso, who's got two eyes on one side of the face. So it's amazing what women can do. And this is the absolute right move. You can, all you men can try and diminish it all you want. You can say, oh, well, it's just because she's a woman of color and she's a woman. Let me tell you this. She's worked her ass off to get here, and she completely deserves this position. And I'm going to guarantee you she's going to be here for at least 20 years.
I hope so. Yeah.
All right, Cody. Sorry. Let me get off my high horse. Let me hop off of that. My dog is over here, licking himself next to me. So no time like the present to get started on the AFC South. Because what my dog is doing to himself right now is basically what the AFC South is going to do to themselves. This is a crap division.
This is. I don't know how much time you want to spend on it, but it's going to be a quick one, because this is not my favorite division. I'll just say that.
Yes. Okay, so Cody, let's go 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's what we've been doing this whole time, even though we probably already know who our number one is. I don't think there's any secret here. I don't know. You might surprise me here. I probably surprised you with at least one team, so I'll say that. So, Cody, who is your number 4 team? Why, and what is their record?
All right. So number 4 team, of course, none other than the Houston Texans. I have them at a whopping 2-15. I don't believe in David Mills. Lovie Smith, I feel like, is being handed a really terrible roster.
Yes,
they have the only great offensive asset that they really have is Brandon Cooks, who for some reason decided to sign an extension with them. I guess David Mills is a pretty good young quarterback. He showed some promise last season, so hopefully he takes a pretty good step forward and makes them a little bit competitive. I don't really care for Houston's defense, though. I don't really think there's much to be excited for. Outside of Brandon Cooks, and I don't even know if David Johnson is even on their team any longer. I think he's now a free agent. I have no idea what Houston is doing. I think that they're playing for the number one draft pick next season. So I've got Houston Texans at 2-15. I think the only games I have them winning is one against Jacksonville, I believe, and I think I have them winning some surprise team. Let me see. I got to pull it up real quick. The only team I really have them beating is Jaguars and Tennessee. I have them splitting games with Jaguars and the Titans. So those are really the only 2 games I see them capturing, and that's it.
Okay, not a lot to talk about on the Houston Texans. I also have the Houston Texans at 4. I have them at 3-14.
Mm-hmm.
I have them splitting games between Tennessee. I have them winning against Washington just because I felt like it was mainly because of Washington's schedule that I thought maybe Houston can kind of catch them with their pants down. And then I have them splitting games against Jacksonville. So those are really the only wins I gave Houston. I mean, I'm with you. Davis Mills, he actually had a nice year for what they were going through. Listen, Houston, if you don't think this Deshaun Watson thing is not also affecting Houston, you're dead wrong. This is going to affect them a lot. They're the ones who have been supplying Deshaun Watson with these masseuses. So they're going to be going through a lot of legal stuff. So to be honest, Houston is not really focused on this football year. Obviously, the football players, the coaches, they are. But as you said, Lovie Smith got really thrown into the fire with this one. And he's not going to Radshak, Meshach, and Abednego this one. If you don't understand that reference, read your Bible a little bit. But it's not going to happen this year. Yeah. I mean, as much as I kind of feel bad for the organization at the same time with what they did with the whole Deshaun Watson thing, it absolutely disgusts me. And I hope they go 17, sorry. I hope they go 17, and I hope the Browns do too, because both of those organizations deserve it. But football sense, it's really unrealistic that that's going to happen. They showed that they had some fight in them, so I do feel like they are going to win a few games, but they're not really going to be all that good. I think they have a chance to win a couple of more games, but I don't see them even being kind of competitive. So
yeah, same.
All right, Cody, who's your number 3 team?
Number 3 is the good old Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence in his sophomore season. I know that they have a new head coach in Peterson, which is great. I think he's a huge upgrade, of course, from Urban Meyer, who, I don't think that Coach Peterson's going to be in the strip clubs on losses. So I think that's a positive. But I have them finishing with a record of 5-12. Again, I have them splitting with Houston, Tennessee, and with I think I have them also splitting with the Colts. And that's pretty much it. I think the only other couple games that they'll win are I think I have here the Giants and Dallas. I have them beating Dallas at home. It's kind of like one of those in like later in the year fluke wins I can see happening. Just when everything's kind of starting to click, I see the Jaguars kind of surprising everybody. I see this team is slightly upgraded, but not by much. I mean, I don't even want to say that their receiving core is upgraded. Christian Kirk is a fine receiver. I don't think he's number 1 receiver material. I think he really needs like a really good 1 to go with him, and then he's a serviceable 2. And that's kind of like what it was demonstrated when he was in Arizona. And outside of that, Jaguars don't really have a whole lot of weapons. My fear is that Trevor Lawrence's, progress is going to be a little haltered just because this offense isn't the greatest. And I think they're going to need one more offseason to kind of go after some free agents and upgrade more things. I think the only saving grace that the Jaguars have is their defense is actually underrated. I think it's a serviceable defense. It'll keep them in close games for a while, but I think ultimately the Jaguars' offense or inexperience is gonna really play into their losses. But I think the defense is probably the only shining light that this team is going to have all season. So that's where I have the Jaguars.
All right, this is what I'm going to surprise you. The Tennessee Titans are my 3rd team, and I have them at 5-12.
Wow.
I absolutely hate what they have done this offseason. Not only did they show that Arthur Smith needs Arthur Smith. Not only did they show that they needed Arthur Smith, Arthur Smith is the head coach of the Falcons now. I completely messed that up. So sorry. But they showed that they needed Arthur Smith, but they also showed that Ryan Tannehill needed Arthur Smith. And what we saw with Ryan Tannehill last year was when he wasn't doing well, he ended up saying, okay, well, I'm just going to go to A.J. Brown when he finally came back. And you got rid of that target. This is not a recipe for success. Yes, you have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a phenomenal running back, but he is a guy who does get injured quite often. And not only is their offensive line now worse, their quarterback is now worse, and their receiving core is now worse. You're not going to do much with that. We've seen time and time again, the NFL has now kind of moved away from the run game. There are guys like a Derrick Henry who can kind of change the narrative of that, but you have to have at least some sort of other weapons. Now all these defenses are like, we'll let Ryan Tannehill try and beat us. We're going to go up to the line, and we're going to stop Derrick Henry, and we're going to make them become a throwing team. And if you look at just look at the AFC West teams. The AFC West teams have nothing but weapons. You have to keep up with those teams. Those are the teams that are going to be in the playoffs. So if you're not keeping up with those teams, you're not obviously going to win many games. So in my opinion, not only did the Titans get worse offensively, but they are not any better defensively. They didn't do much with this defense. This is what their Achilles heel was last year. And I still think the offense was not very good. So I feel like the Titans are going to take a way step back. I've always been down on Ryan Tannehill, Cody, as you know. I think the Titans are taking a huge step back.
I don't know if you heard, I had Tennessee at 8-9, second place in the AFC South. I agree with you. They didn't really do a whole lot of upgrades offensively or defensively. And I was saying that I believe the Ryan Tannehill experiment is basically over. I think after this season, they're probably going to look for some sort of replacement just because they don't really have an offensive weapon that's going to coexist with Tannehill. And I agree with you. You know, Arthur Smith, his OC was really the only thing that was stopping him from being hot garbage. And I don't know how much better or worse Tannehill's going to be without him now. So as I'd mentioned, I had Tennessee at 8-9, missing the playoffs, of course, in that division. So who did you have in second place?
I have the Jaguars in second place. I have them at 6-11, though. I don't have them very high. So I can see how you could have the Titans at 2. I just, I think the Jaguars, I think they did get better. I mean, we can make fun of the Christian Kirk and signing him to a huge contract. Yes. You know, obviously the whole thing that they went with Urban Meyer and all that, of course, you could say all that, but I do feel like the Jaguars, I think with Doug Peterson, I actually really like him, at least as an offensive head coach. And I think he's actually going to really help Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is a great talent. I find it funny that everyone feels like, oh, well, he's no good. I mean, there's just been so many. I just feel like there was so much that was going on around that team that I feel like it's kind of unfair to just already write him off. Like I really do feel like this is a great situation for Doug Peterson to come into, rebuild the team. Possibly if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if they're even slightly better than they were last year, that's going to look good for him. So I actually do like this team, though. I think the running backs, what they have, are fantastic. I think they have some really good receivers. Of course, their offensive line is going to need work, but I do like Trevor Lawrence a lot. I don't think their defense is all as bad as a lot of people may make it seem. But again, I still only have them winning 6 games, so I don't think that's that crazy. I have them winning over Detroit, splitting games against Tennessee, Indianapolis, and Houston. So splitting games with everyone in the division. And then I have them beating the Giants, and I actually have them beating the Cowboys. So that's just kind of where I sit with the Jaguars. Last year, they were 3-14. Can I see them doubling the wins? I can. But at the same time, I could see that if they're more of like a 4-win, 5-win team. But still, I I think they're actually not as bad as what everyone makes them seem. And I like the Doug Peterson signing as the head coach. So, and I think it's going to do wonders for them. So, I don't think the Christian Kirk signing was a mistake, and I don't think the Doug Peterson for Trevor Lawrence was a mistake either.
I agree. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up then. First place for me, obviously, is Indianapolis Colts. I have them at 11-6. I was saying that, obviously they have an elite offensive line. Jonathan Taylor, basically a premier back. As long as he stays healthy, he's basically got a pretty long career ahead of him. And I think we can all agree that Matt Ryan is a pretty big upgrade from Carson Wentz. And, if you have a veteran quarterback who makes better plays and I think has a comparable arm to Carson Wentz, I think this Indianapolis team could be surprising. I'm just not real sold on their wide receiving weapons. I know Michael Pittman Jr. is a pretty good player, but outside of that, I don't know what other receivers are going to be able to step up. And another thing, too, that this Colts has is a really good defense. I think that they have the best defense in the division. Obviously, I see the Colts taking the division. I don't know, though, if this makes them a threat in the AFC per se, considering all the other divisional winners or wild card teams that could be potentially better than them. But I have Indianapolis Colts finishing at a 11-6 record.
I also have the Indianapolis Colts at 11-6. Listen, exactly what you said. Jonathan Taylor is an absolute beast. They got better at quarterback with Matt Ryan. Listen, Matt Ryan had a horrible offensive line in Atlanta. And now you've given him arguably the best offensive line in the league right now. At least if we're going to argue it, at least top 5. He brought a horrible Falcons offensive line to a 7-10 record last year. You put that into Indianapolis, where they have and so underrated defense. Like, this defense doesn't get talked about enough. This is an awesome defense. And then you talk about the weapons that surround Matt Ryan when you have Jonathan Taylor. We talk about Michael Pittman a little bit. You could even, I would still say T.Y. Hilton. Actually, I think T.Y. Hilton actually might kind of thrive a little bit more with Matt Ryan. So I actually really like this team. I thought I was going to like them a little bit more, but I do think that Matt Ryan is going to run into a few better teams. I think you're going to lose some games in the division. I have them losing a game to Tennessee and Jacksonville. But I could see them, KC, they play Denver, they play Las Vegas, they play the Chargers. Basically, they play the whole AFC West. I could see them losing all of those games to the AFC West, but I could also see them pulling 1 or 2 of those wins out as well, but losing some random games as well. So, like I said, I have them at 11-6. I don't really know how necessarily that's going to happen, but I do feel like it is going to be an 11-6. And listen, the Colts have been a steady organization, just not steady at the quarterback position. We've seen the old quarterback before in Phillip Rivers, so there is a possibility that it could end up looking not fantastic. Maybe it looks a little good, not great. Who knows? But I think Matt Ryan, although I don't think he's what he was, I do believe that he is still a solid quarterback, and he is definitely better than what they had last year. So I really like this Colts team, and I don't think there's really much pushback from any other team.
I would also say, too, the Colts could be even more dangerous if they decide to sign Julio Jones and pair him back up with Matt Ryan to go opposite of Michael Pittman Jr.
That would be fantastic.
If they did that, this offense would be pretty scary. I know that, some would say Julio Jones is probably past his prime, and I would agree, but I would still say that he's probably better than most receivers, especially you put a young receiver Pittman, on the opposite side of him with Matt Ryan and that chemistry that they both have. I think that could be a very, very, very interesting offense. So,
yep, couldn't agree more.
Okay, Drew, well, since you're back with us, how about we get started with some Drew Take questions?
All right, I will make these quick.
Okay, good. So I'll give you some baseball ones. These are pretty much all baseball ones. And then actually, to pay homage to our new podcast friends, from the backseat, Clark and Ethan's show, we are going to kind of put our own spin on a start bench cut. I know they're not the originators, but it's their kind of thing, and so this is our homage to them in a way. But anyways,
Yeah,
so Drew,
guys, we're
we're gonna take your segment. It's so popular, we're trying to get popular too. All right. So, anyways, Drew. So far as we've all been talking about, we're about the halfway point in the MLB baseball season as All-Star Weekend is approaching. So, I want to know from you, who do you think is the AL and NL Cy Young favorite so far?
So my AL Cy Young award, I did say that I do like Garrett Cole. I'm actually going to say Justin Verlander. Verlander has been nothing but spectacular. I mean, Verlander last year kind of had some, obviously he basically really wasn't playing all of last year. But he's got an 11-3 record right now. He's got an even 2 ERA. The guy's 39 years old. I mean, let's put that in perspective. He's already over 100 innings pitched. He's at 98 strikeouts. So he's going to have 100 in his next start. His whip is what I love. It's a .87, which means he's allowing less than a walk or a hit per inning, which is all you really. I mean, that's like excellent. I mean, you'll take a 1.2 and still be okay with it. The fact that he's gotten a whip under 1 is spectacular. So, I really respect Justin Verlander. I thought he was going to kind of be done after last year. Oh, I'm sorry, he didn't even pitch last year. Thinking of
I think he had Tommy John. I think he had Tommy John surgery. That's why.
Yeah. So, he's been phenomenal since he's come back, and I feel like he himself has propelled this Astros team. And like I said, they're my number 3 team in the power rankings. So Verlander is my AL. My NL Cy Young, I have 3 guys listed. I have Alcantara from the Marlins, Joe Musgrove of the Padres, and Corbin Burns from the Brewers. Now, if you're asking who I would pick Musgrove, because not only have the Padres been the second or third place in the NL West this whole time, but all of a sudden Joe Musgrove has become the ace. This guy, like being traded to the Padres, signing to the Padres, he wasn't supposed to be the ace. He was supposed to be like a number 2, maybe even a number 3 guy. A solid starter. This guy has become an ace, and not only that, he's a good strikeout guy. He's a guy who, if his strikeout pitches aren't working, he's a guy who can get ground balls any time of the day. He's been really smart with his pitches. And then, of course, he has a great team behind him. But the reason I would pick him over the other 2 is Corbin Burns. Yes, he's a fantastic pitcher, and he's got the most strikeouts out of all 3 guys that I have listed. But at the same time, he's on a team that I think could actually be in the World Series. If I'm looking at the Milwaukee Brewers, I think they're a good team. Obviously, they're first place in their division, but I don't think they're a team that could get into the World Series. The Marlins, they may not even make it to the playoffs. And as much as I would actually give it to Alcantara, the fact of the matter is they're not a team that is necessarily going to, I believe, is going to be in the playoffs. So they're not going to give it to a team or a player who's not going to be in the playoffs. So I think it's more of a Corbin Burns, Joe Musgrove type deal. And I would give it to Joe Musgrove just because I love watching him pitch with the star-studded rotation that they have. Like I said, he was supposed to be like the number 3, maybe the number 2 guy. But Joe Musgrove has taken it over, and he's been phenomenal. And I was kind of rooted for him, too, because he did sign a baseball for my daughter that we still have. And so I always root for the guy. So I'm glad that he is at the level that he is at right now.
All right. So basically same kind of question, but this time we're going MVP. So who do you have as an AL and NL MVP favorite so far?
I said it earlier in the show. AL MVP is Aaron Judge. I don't feel like I need to go into it too much. Batting average, home runs. The guy has been the Yankees'
play. I mean, he's been the best Yankee since Derek Jeter, and he's been nothing but as advertised. And this guy is an ultimate dude. He is just someone that, they were talking about on the Backseat podcast. They're talking about, someone that you would want to have a beer with, or, you would want to hang out with. Aaron Judge is that guy. Like, you would want to hang out with him because this guy, he just walks into a room and you're just like, dude, I want to talk to that guy. Like, I need to know what his story is. Like, you just look at him and you're like, I need to know what is with this guy. Like, what is his deal? So I would go Aaron Judge. And then the NL, this might surprise a few people. From the Backseat podcast, I was texting with Clark, and he was saying, probably Goldschmidt is the favorite to win. I would actually go with Manny Machado, because what he is doing, I don't think anyone expected it, especially with Tatis out. Imagine what this guy is going to do now that Tatis is going to be coming back soon. Machado has been the best player on the Padres team, minus Joe Musgrove. This is like becoming all Padres podcast, and I freaking hate that, because I said if my kids were ever Padres fans, I might have to disown them. But Manny Machado, he's a guy that I actually wanted the Giants to go after because we needed a third baseman at the time, and he's a young guy. We had the money to sign him, but of course, the Giants don't want to sign anybody. So we see him go to San Diego instead. And he hasn't been as good as he has been this year, but for some reason this year, he really stepped his game up, and I really appreciate that. Yes, Paul Goldschmidt is having a phenomenal year, but I feel like Machado had a harder time to get to where he's at, because everyone expects Tatis to be the guy. But I feel like Machado this year, even with Tatis coming back, it's still going to be Machado's team, in my opinion. Ethan Clark, if you disagree, you got my number. You can text me, bro. But I honestly do believe that Manny Machado right now, for me, is my favorite to win the NL MVP. Paul Goldschmidt is hitting 344 right now, which is spectacular. I don't think it's going to stay like that. I think he's going to regress a little bit. And I think Machado's home run numbers are going to add up a little bit more. And I think his batting average is going to be around where it is now, which is 315. So I think you're going to see Manny Machado possibly winning the NL MVP.
Right on. All right, so sticking with the same baseball theme with our Drew Tate questions. So, as you know, Drew, so again, the most popular sports commissioner of Major League has said that he would like to expand the MLB to at least 2 teams. So I'm curious, what 2 cities would you like to see the MLB expand to?
I'll give you my honest opinion. My honest opinion is this is going to be a very unpopular take to cities that are unpopular, but I really do feel like it should be in at least in discussion. Okay. I really truly believe that Omaha, Nebraska needs to possibly be mentioned. Yes, it is a mecca for college baseball. But everyone talks about how nice it is in Omaha, how great it is. My boss, who I work for, he actually attended Creighton, which is or close to Nebraska. I believe it is in Nebraska, and it's very close to Omaha. And he actually had a graduation there. And when he went, he was like, I was really surprised of how beautiful it was, how nice it was. I mean, for not having like a beach around it, it was spectacular. It was a really, really cool city. And it is like a baseball city. I mean, you think Omaha, Nebraska, the first thing you think is the College World Series. Right. So automatically you're thinking baseball. So I feel like you should have at least a sports team. If you don't want to have it in Omaha, at least somewhere around there, I think makes sense. And another team, and I mean, of course, I'm a little biased, of course, but I really do think that Fresno needs to be in the talks. If you're not going to have it in Oakland, keep it in California. Talk about Fresno, because Fresno loves baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever been to a local high school baseball game, but it's always. I mean, you went to my brother-in-law's senior night, and
Right.
my God, it was packed.
Yeah.
And that's how it is most of the time. It's always a lot of people there. A lot of people love the baseball here in Fresno. They love it. Fresno State games, I'm actually kind of surprised of how many people will actually really go. I thought a lot of people would like to go more to like the Grizzly games, but a lot of people like the just the local games. And I think if you put a major league franchise here versus like a minor league franchise, I think it would actually succeed a lot better, because they're a top 5 city in California. I mean, we have over 500,000 people in the city of Fresno. That's plenty of people you can attract to come to baseball games. So I think Fresno needs to be mentioned. Where I think they would actually go, probably Vegas would be, number one. Another a city that I think that they'll probably think about, man, maybe a Carolina, maybe like a Charlotte.
Okay.
Possibly more southern, like New Orleans. New Orleans is kind of a city that needs, I think is old school Southern. So football's huge there. Pelicans aren't really that big there. So if you put like a Major League Baseball team there, it's that old school Southern kind of thought process to it. So baseball, I would assume, is going to be huge there as well. And I'm sure the LSU games, LSU baseball is huge there. So, New Orleans and Vegas is probably the two cities that really pop out to me. I could see maybe going to like a Charlotte. I would love for them to maybe looking to go back into Montreal, where they used to have the Montreal Expos, kind of maybe had a team, another team in Canada. That would be cool. Maybe even explore a Mexico team, because the Mexican baseball league is huge over there. So you're going to attract a lot of people when you get the best of the best stars in Mexico. So I think they really need to think about an international team.
Yeah. So quickly before I move on to the next question, I had 3 cities that I wrote down. So one of them was Omaha, Nebraska. I thought the same thing because, again, the College World Series city, I thought the same. I also thought Las Vegas, Nevada, just because it's a growing city. They just got in a hockey team. Obviously, the Raiders moved there. I'm almost certain that the NBA is going to move there eventually as well. I'd say in the next like 3 years. I think they already have a WNBA team in Vegas right now.
Yeah, the Las Vegas.
And I think baseball is the next one to go. And plus, I think that they would be like, for example, if the Oakland A's move from Oakland to Las Vegas, it makes the most sense because they can probably share a stadium with Oakland. It's a huge enough stadium. They've done it before. I'm sure they can make it work. Third and final city, which I think is a little bit, no pun intended, out there in left field, is Des Moines, Iowa, just because Field of Dreams obviously partakes in a field in the middle of Iowa. I think the symmetry of having a baseball team in the state of Iowa, specifically Des Moines, which is the capital of it, I think would be an interesting city, just for like the baseball lore. And I'm sure that would attract some people over there, especially a professional team. I wouldn't even be opposed to Oklahoma City. So that's a 4th team that's for free. So
I would. I don't want Oklahoma, but that's for personal reasons. So
okay, well, we won't get into that.
Yeah.
All right, Drew. So let's do our my version of start bench cut with you. So I'm just going to paint the picture for you of what I'm talking about, and then I'm only going to give you 3. Okay. So I just want to set your mind frame. So the NBA in 2016 saw numerous things happen. A couple of things that happened just so that way you're in the right mindset. We had the Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon dunk contest. It was Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett's final years playing. It was Steph Curry winning the first unanimous MVP. Warriors also going 73-9 in the regular season, along with the Cleveland Cavaliers coming back from 3-0, winning the NBA Finals, led by LeBron. And, of course, it was Kobe Bryant's 60-point game, his final game in the NBA. So that was all that happened in 2016. Okay. Just to put your mind frame there.
Okay.
So the three I'm going to give you is start, bench, cut, Cavaliers winning the NBA Finals, Kobe's 60-point final game, and the Gordon and LaVine dunk contest.
Okay, so if it's out of those three, Gordon and LaVine dunk contest, I'm cutting automatically.
Okay.
Yes, it was huge. It was just for entertainment purposes. It's the lesser of the three.
Okay.
It was huge. I mean, Aaron Gordon got robbed. LaVine was spectacular, but I think Gordon was just a little bit better. But we've always beaten that too. It's like beating a dead horse now. I mean, it's done. God. I would probably bench Kobe's 60-point final game, and that sounds bad when I say bench, but it was something that was absolutely crazy. But to put it in a little perspective, yes, it was Kobe's last year, but it also was a bad year for the Lakers overall. It wasn't a great Laker team. They weren't even kind of contending. They just had a bunch of guys, and then Kobe was there. So, and at that time, we thought D'Angelo Russell was going to, be the next, Laker to, in the next Laker great. We thought that was going to be it. So, it was phenomenal. Watching it was crazy. It was one of the few games that my wife was actually like, I want to watch this. And I was like, all right, so that was really cool. It was something that needs to be talked about, I think, a little bit more. And we don't talk about it as much. And then obviously it's Kobe not being here anymore. It just makes it that much more special. But the Cavaliers coming back from 3-1 deficit on the best record in basketball that we had ever seen against the Steph Curry, who was, untouchable at that point. Draymond Green was able to hit shots. Klay Thompson was a sniper. And you talk about, you had Kyrie and LeBron, but Kyrie had just gotten LeBron, where Kyrie was kind of the guy who thought they were going to be like, oh, we're going to be fine without LeBron. And they were like, oh, Kyrie is good, but he's not LeBron good. And so they kind of had to figure out how to work with each other. And LeBron just all I can think about 2016, every time we talk about 2016, I think about the block that LeBron had on Andre Iguodala. You watching that's what changed the momentum, because at that point it was all Warriors, and then LeBron blocks that shot, and the Cavs just got in like, oh, we're gonna win. And it was like, you saw it live, and you see it every time you watch that replay. You're like, oh, it's not gonna go the Warriors' way now. It's not. It was spectacular to watch LeBron in that NBA Finals. I think it's one of the best NBA Finals victory I've ever seen in my life, honestly. One of the best NBA Finals I had ever watched was the Cavaliers versus the Warriors, where LeBron basically was like, I'm going to do literally everything in this Finals, and he absolutely did. He was a scorer. He was a defender. He was a rebounder. He was the point guard. He was phenomenal. Yes, we talk about Kyrie hitting some big clutch shots, but LeBron did everything in between and in the beginning, and Kyrie just kind of like put a cap on it. So
Yeah.
to me, the 2016 Cavaliers win is the start.
Okay. So I'm going to have a lot of fun answering this because when you went on from the back seat, you got to answer a start bench cut related to NBA. And I was probably seething in the background because I would have loved to answer it. But my cut would be the Levine dunk contest as well. Just because I think it's probably the best dunk contest, I would argue, in the history, just because every dunk was phenomenal by Levine and Gordon. It was
I'd
very
still
close
give it to
it.
Jordan and Dominique. I would still give it to that one, but I would say that one second.
Sure, but I would say the creativity was a little better. But again, debatable depending on what your flavor is. It's fine. But anyways, I'm still cutting that. I would bench actually the Cavaliers winning 3-1 because I would start Kobe's 60-point game. The reason why, it's all 100% sentimental. It's not what was most important, not looking back on, the Lakers were a terrible team. And to put things in perspective, Kobe Bryant was on the same team as Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson, D'Angelo Russell, and what's the other? Larry Nance Jr. So all of those guys were on one team at one given point. Now, granted, they were all rookies. Oh, and I don't think Brandon Ingram had come in the league at the time yet.
No, he came out after.
Right after that. But anyways, I would put Kobe as a start just because, again, 100% sentimental. Literally final game in the Staples Center, formerly Staples Center, and he dropped 60 points. Never would have thought that. And he had a last-second game-winning shot. Not really last second, but in the final seconds, he drains like a mid-range shot to kind of put a cap on everything. And it was a great way to go out. And I think that's a really great final game for him to go out on, because there's several players. I remember Michael Jordan's final game with the Wizards where he only scored 15 points against the Sixers, and it was kind of a bad game, and it was not like a great final game that you wanted to see MJ go out on, considering how dominant, literally the greatest player everyone kind of recognizes, or LeBron, depending on what you prefer. But Kobe Bryant's last game was just on a whole nother level where it was a story. It was beautiful. And I mean, literally during the pandemic, they put it on replay over and over and over because it was that kind of entertaining of a game. So that was our version of start bench cut, man. So
all right. It's pretty good. That was a good one. That was a tough one. So yeah, I mean, we'll have to maybe do those a little more often, but I don't know if we can do it every week.
No, I agree. That was just an homage, like I said. Probably won't be every week. It's not really our deal, but it's kind of fun to have one every now and again.
Yes. So thank you, Backseat. So I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Sorry, my phone completely died. And then the charger that I was trying to use, the cord is going out, so I had to go grab another charger. So that's why it took a little bit longer. So I'm sorry about that. So this episode took a lot longer than it was supposed to, but I appreciate you guys watching and or listening. So thank you guys so much. Go check us out on all the social media sites, which is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're also on TikTok, so go check all that out. Go check us out on YouTube, as if you're not watching on YouTube right now. Subscribe and like and comment on all the videos. All the descriptions are in, or all the or all of our names. Excuse me, good Lord. All of the social media names that we have. You can check it out on the description in the podcast, or even here on YouTube. So you will be able to find us no matter what. And then go check out our partners over at fnxfitness.com. They have great workout gear, great workout supplement. Cody, you're wearing a shirt right now from FNX Fitness. So really cool stuff. Simple shirts, but they're really nice and really comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I love their supplement stuff that they have. I need to get more, and I'm waiting to be able to get my stuff. So go check them out. We have a promo code for you, where you can get 15% off your whole purchase by using our promo code. Again, it'll be in the description. And then you can. We would appreciate the rate and review on all the podcast site, which is going to be Spotify, iHeart, and Apple Podcasts. So go check us all out on those. And like I said, comment and rate and review on all that. Anything and everything does help, so that way we can get better at what we are doing. So I'm going to send it over to Cody because I'm having a very hard time talking as I'm trying to send it to you. Good God. So just finish it off, Cody.
All right, guys. We want to thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Again, just as Drew had said, all of our social media handles, you can subscribe, you can download, you can like, share, comment, all in the description down below in the show, along with obviously in our link tree, which is all there. But again, if you guys need a reminder, it's all at Drew Code Sports Talk, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now on TikTok, which is a lot of fun. So please join us over there. Also, please do not forget to join us in our Fantasy Football League. DM us, email us. We will have more information coming out very soon. Football season is right around the corner. Come August is when it's going to really start heating up. So it's going to be super exciting. We want you guys to join us for that, and it's going to be super, super fun. Again, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please comment down below with your guys' AFC South predictions. Please comment below what you guys think of all the questions that we went over. We want to hear from you guys and interact with you guys. And again, shout out to From the Backseat podcast guys, Clark and Ethan. Thank you guys again for the shout out on your episode. Here's to you guys. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Drew's going on a very long and well-needed vacation, as he deserves it, as he's slurring his words. We're past his bedtime. So we're going to say good night. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Yes. See you later.